It's 4:20 somewhere, and right now that somewhere is here. Welcome to the Cannabis Show. I'm Janae Burris, and here's your host, Jake Brown.
Hey, thanks, Janae. Thanks to everyone tuning in. We have an amazing show for you today where we talk all things weed.
Hashtag all things weed.
And that's the serious marijuana news, along with the fun stuff as well. And right now on the Cannabist.co, you can see our curated list of 420 events across the state of Colorado.
You know, 420 has become a huge holiday here in Colorado. We also refer to it as Weed Christmas, Puff Passover, and Arbor Day.
You can also read an in-depth interview with stoner icon Cheech Marin.
Cheech and Chong came from a musical background and combined that with skits, improv, and new dancers at a strip club to create their original act. Our path to fame is not so different, right, Jake?
Sadly, no, but first rule of improv, I can't talk about improv. You can also read why Woody Harrelson hasn't smoked pot in a year. But right now, let's buckle down on the Cannabis Show. What's new with you, Janae?
Well, St. Patrick's Day came and went, and I didn't even get to make one wish. I don't think I understand this holiday. I thought saints had magical powers.
Wait, so I really don't understand St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. Do you pluck them? What do you do with the clovers?
I don't know. Nothing. If you could find one, smoke them, I guess. I don't know.
Fair enough. Let's go now to the Weekend Weed. Let's go Mao to the Weekend Weed, where we celebrate famous dictators. No, let's kick it off in Washington State, whose native son Macklemore is known for his love of thrift shopping. And now we may know why, after employees at a Monroe Goodwill store found nearly 4 pounds of pot in a donated cooler.
Way to look a gift cooler in the mouth, Monroe. Seems like some local potheads were just trying to spread their own goodwill.
It's my kind of goodwill. While possession of small amounts of weed is legal in the state, the cooler contained nearly 60 times the legal amount. So if you're listening and 59 of your friends also lost an ounce of weed, you know where to check.
Is donating weed tax deductible? I'm asking for 59 friends.
According to Debbie Willis of the Monroe Police Department, they also had a number of people on social media willing to claim the bounty. But she tells CNN they've, quote, yet to have one walk through the door, unquote.
I'm sure they're definitely planning on coming. Probably just got distracted searching for car keys or something.
Now let's go to Detroit, where the kids are a-rockin', the M's are enemming, but not many dispensaries have been allowed to do much of anything. The Motor City has received more than 260 applications since March of last year, but only 2 have yet to have been opened.
All right, I guess the kids will have to go back to huffing car fumes like their parents had to. Or maybe head to Flint and get high on tap water.
Flint tap water. According to National Patient Rights Association official Robin Schneider, it's not an easy process. Schneider told the Detroit News that the city is, quote, the most exclusionary zoning practices of anything I've seen in the state, unquote. Strict rules were put in place with the aim of getting unregulated businesses to apply, but 136 shops have closed and more than 100 remain in limbo, continuing to make Detroit one of the top cities in America to be pretty much an abandoned building.
So what are these zoning laws? Like no sales within 1,000 feet of an empty lot or a closed down factory?
Or one of those bears that roams the city? I don't know. The goal for the city is to allow 50 dispensaries to operate, according to Detroit Corporation Counsel Melvin Butch Hollowell. But that's a relatively small number compared to the over 200 that operate in the city of Denver, given that the Detroit metro area is actually more populated.
It's time to start investing in Detroit again. I've been hearing about this movement to make Detroit the new mecca for artists, which is a great idea, but they're gonna need inspiration.
I think I know the type of inspiration you're talking about.
No.
Now let's go to your home state of California, Janae, where a number of businesses are in over their heads, and that's not because the inevitable earthquake has dropped them into the Pacific.
Falling into the ocean or not, if you can find beachfront property with parking, just buy it.
It appears that 13 California dispensaries owe the state a whopping $12 million in taxes. According to the Californian's Brooke Edwards Staggs, the state's Board of Equalization, which is apparently a thing, publishes a list of the top 500 delinquent taxpayers, scarlet letter style, to shame them into paying.
Oh no, the state should try the Sally Mae style of shaming. You know, just call the owner's dear sweet grandmother on her landline and fill up the tape on her answering machine until she calls you crying. and then you pay.
Yeah, it works. Offenders range from the $2.3 million owed by the Compassionate Center of Santa Barbara to a shop called Granny's Perps that owes a little under $500,000.
Oh, come on, Granny Perps. Just stick a check in a birthday card and mail it to Sacramento. Oh, that's right. They won't let you put your money in a bank. Okay. So do you want to get paid or not, California?
They're actually working on bills to try and get people on board. But now let's go to the Cannabist Soam Shah, the fresh strain review video on Cherry Diesel.
What I'm smoking today is going to be the Cherry Diesel. It was grown by Veritas Cannabis. As you can see, it's got some pretty bright green leaves on it. Trichome coverage is pretty solid. It's going to be really a sweet cherry is the prominent smell. And then of course the gasoline, which is, you know, where the diesel in the name comes from. Yeah, so that sweetness from the cherry is definitely what's going to carry through into the smoke. It's a little bit harsh on that first hit, probably a little bit of the paper bits on the end there, so we'll smoke a little more and see how harsh it really is. But it is really tasty. The pine becomes a little bit more prominent when you light it up. So we're going to go do some artwork at Puff, Pass, and Pottery. We have a limo coming to pick us up. You know, don't want to be rolling around dirty, all stoned, so keep it safe when you're smoking.
Hey, I'm Jessa.
So, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Tonight we're going to do Puff Pass Pottery. It's a little different from Puff Pass Paint in that we don't make the same things, and you're welcome to make as many pieces as you want in the next 2 hours.
Oh, that's right. Started out with an ashtray. Wasn't really feeling it, but then the Cherry Diesel kicked in, and I was feeling the groove a little bit more on that second piece. I definitely would say for an activity like this where you want to be like really focused, I like that Cherry Diesel. I definitely felt a little more creative and thoughtful with what I was doing. No, I liked keeping it for the entire night. I think it kind of extended the same mental stimulation that I felt during the initial review when we did it on the Facebook Live. I would definitely probably pick this strain again for something similar like this, where we're, you know, doing something artistic. I felt the creative juices flowing a little bit more than, you know, a more racy or energetic or, you know, multitasking type of strain.
Any other thoughts on it?
I want to get some more.
Our first guest is the executive director of the Cannabis Consumers Coalition and thinks the marijuana industry has a diversity problem. Please join me in welcoming Larisa Bolivar to the show. Hey. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so unlike most of the school papers about cannabis that are turned in, you wrote your master's thesis on something that's not just like, well, we really think marijuana should be legalized. Can you tell me a little bit about your thesis?
So my thesis is entitled Enduring Racial Disparity After Cannabis Legalization, which basically highlights the lack of representation of minorities in the new industry and kind of volleys off of Michelle Alexander's assessment of how predominantly white people are now making money off of something that has been illegal and basically carried on by minorities in the illegal market, and the disparity is in prison. But it struck me as profound. I've been in the arena, the cannabis arena, for 16 years, and it struck me as profound that there weren't very many minorities in the industry, and I wanted to write about it and quantify it and pick out different reasons why. Some of them are obvious in our communities, may not be so obvious, and also to discuss, you know, what can be done as solutions,
right,
to address the disparity.
Now, do you see this nationwide? Is this a problem that's concentrated more in certain states, or is it more pervasive?
It's nationwide. And you can really see it when you look at organizations, and this isn't throwing shade on any organizations. I love all of them equally, but
let's talk about some specific ones.
No, not necessarily, but when
okay,
all you have to do is go and look online and look at images and pictures, and you see, you know, it's all white people, which is fine. My mom's white. You know, my dad's an immigrant from Peru. I don't have anything against white people, but, you know, you see very little minorities, and that, you know, you don't. So it is obvious, and there have been people who've brought it up in the media in the past, other minorities that have brought it up. And, you know, I wanted to take it a step deeper and really examine it and look at the systemic issues, not just in cannabis, but then also look at why. And then what's happening within the minority communities. Why aren't we advancing ourselves? We have some issues within our communities. We refer to it like a crabs in a basket syndrome. You know, I've got mine, you can't have yours. Because for us, it's always been survival. Right. You know, we don't have access to generational wealth. A lot of our families have been torn apart because of the drug war. And so a lot of us, you know, grew up with in a single parent home where parents were working multiple jobs, so there wasn't much guidance. Drugs was the solution. Then you get into the jail system, the prison system, and that, you know, just kind of... Sure. So there's that. And then there's also the issue...
Wait, I want to start right there, because I want to touch on that. I think that there are, especially when you look at incarceration rates, and you have some states that have been a little bit more progressive. Washington, for example, said, hey, we're going to pardon a lot of nonviolent criminals.
Yes.
Here in Colorado, Governor Hickenlooper, not a single pardon on pot. I mean, where do those pardons or even people constructing new drug laws and incorporating, you know, pardons?
They are. Other states are.
Okay.
Because Colorado is an experiment state. So what's working here and what's not working here is being addressed in other states. We did try to have records closed for nonviolent drug offenders here in Colorado so that because to address the suitability issues we have here, people can not only not have licenses if they have drug convictions in their record, they can't have a license in the industry, and that contributes to the disparity, because a lot of these people may have drug charges because of the arrest disparities, and so that spills over. But Hickenlooper threatened to veto that. Now, Colorado is a private prison industry state. The prison and law enforcement lobby here is huge, and you see their impact and their hand in a lot of policies that are happening even now. 1220 is a really good example. 1221 is another example.
For people that are outside of the state, can we
Colorado House
Reader's
Bill
Digest Reader's Digest version of those?
Colorado House Bill 1220. 171220. You know, so 17 for 2017, 1220 is the number of the bill, which means there's been 1,220 bills passed or considered prior to that.
And so that would restrict like what people could grow in their homes in the state.
It is, yeah, yeah. And there's no real, you know, law enforcement has their horror stories. My own home, I had to kick a grower out. I have a house that was destroyed by a grower that was growing illegally. I know what happens when that occurs, and it is a lot of damage. However, there's no incentive to grow cannabis in Colorado for Coloradans. This is all for out of state. So the issue should be solved by legalizing cannabis outside of Colorado, not trying to impinge on constitutional rights and individual rights here statewide. Because last year, pounds were being sold from grows like Los Sueños anywhere between $700 and $900 a pound. Who's going to go and rent a bunch of houses and then find people they have to trust to manage these houses, get the electricity, do all of that to sell weed inside Colorado? It's obviously an out-of-state issue. So now patients are suffering, individual rights are suffering. They're looking to recriminalize something that we legalized on sound reason on 2 occasions, recreationally and medically. So we, the people, decided this, and that's the way our government's supposed to work. These were voter initiatives.
Interesting.
So,
I want to come back just really quick to what states we can look to as models moving forward. I think, you know, down in Louisiana, for example, you've got a historically black university that was given one of the cultivation licenses in the state. What are some other kind of beacons of hope that are out there?
Absolutely, California. California is going to have the most robust industry, medically and recreationally.
Yeah, I think I saw something $7 billion. So
7 to 10 billion.
1 million or $1 billion in tax revenue.
Yeah, and they could really use that. And they've been around, you know, medically since 1996. But you know, they have generational growers there. The sun-grown model works. They have some of the best cannabis there is, I think. And you know,
I'll fight you on that one, but
I've had some good stuff here in Colorado as well.
Fair
and
enough.
I haven't been to Amsterdam, so maybe, you know, I'm missing out there. But for me personally, some of the best strains that I've had have come out of California.
And you think there are going to be more opportunities for people of color in California?
Absolutely. So to go back to that, absolutely, because they're addressing the issue now. You know, we have had people mention it before in the media. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at pictures and be like, wow. Now, if you're a white person, you may not be thinking from the shoes of a person of color, because we do see worlds from our worldview. I'm a female. I see the world as a female. And so we see how we identify. And so, you know, however, if you're looking for it, then you can see the disparity. So I think that now that it's, you know, for example, I just finished helping write applications for Pennsylvania, and you had to write a diversity plan. And you had up to 5,000 words to do so. And so they take it very serious, and they take how the diversity is within your corporate structure as well as your contractors. And
interesting, because I think I would never think of Pennsylvania as a very diverse state.
But it is.
My fiance is from there.
It's
well, yeah, Philadelphia I think is like a hub, and then I see like the Great Amish Plains in between. If you've ever been to Lancaster, there's nothing.
It's a whole different planet. So I was born in D.C. and I grew up in Virginia, and I moved here in 2001. And I love, and my family's actually from Pennsylvania, but from Scranton in that area. And so, you know, there's diversity in immigrants there, you know, Polish, German, Irish, Italian, and then you have and then in Philly you do have, you know, more, now I have the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air song in my head.
Well, now it's in everyone's head. Thank you.
So, and that's how easy it is to manipulate behavior and communications.
That's fun. Hey, I want to switch gears for a moment because you're the executive director of the Colorado Cannabis Coalition.
It's the Cannabis Consumers Coalition.
Excuse me.
It's okay.
And so your primary goal is as like a watchdog for consumers. Why do consumers need a watchdog?
So we're twofold. We're an advocacy group, and we're definitely a watchdog, kind of like a consumer report. I just love the term watchdog. It sounds fun, right? It does. I do. I like it too. And then also, you know, we do education. We educate consumers and non-consumers alike. But you know, just like in any industry, like Consumer Reports, for example, you know, you have a trusted source that you can go to, that you know you can rely to give information that's regarding your safety, regarding legislation, regarding anything that impacts the individual consumer. Also, in a perfect world, if you want to have like a free market capitalist principles guiding your democracy, the more informed consumers are, the less regulations you have, and consumers actually vote with their dollar. Right. They have a lot of power with their dollar. This is why media marketing is so huge. And once they realize this and are empowered, and that's why the education component comes in, and then they realize that they can actually make and change laws regarding issues that impact them, labeling issues, the edibles laws. There is, you know,
where some people would argue that we may have overreached in terms of consumer protection, whether it's, you know, the little THC stamps that need to be put onto edibles. I mean, it's a fine line.
We're making laws from fear because of 80 years of prohibition.
Sure.
And so
there's a lot of re-education that needs to be done. What's something that...
It'll contract eventually. Right now it's just,
everyone's like, okay, let's go over because we are an experiment state. What's something that consumers might not know that they need to be concerned about in the status quo that you would put as like, hey, this is something that you should be concerned about if you hadn't thought about it before?
Just growing standards, employee standards.
When you say growing standards?
So one of the issues that we worked on, that I was actually on the show on before about, was the pesticide issue. You know, there are ways that you can grow cannabis that you don't have to use harsh chemicals. It's all it's all related to environment. But you know, learning about how cannabis is grown, they should really learn about that, and you know, really embrace that, and then hold producers accountable. You know, other things would be the legislative process and how that, like, you know, I gave a presentation at UC Denver about this, but you know, the makeup of stakeholder groups and how they can be involved in these, you know, processes, that they do have a voice, and that's really the foundation of the Consumer Coalition, is to be that voice.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of the feedback that I hear from consumers is that, listen, we don't have a voice. It's mostly just, you know, lobbyists that are going up there, that these bills are decided before there's public comment is taken.
Yes.
But you would argue that, hey, there's ways to be active, and there's ways to have...
Our lobbyist is in 4 blocks from the White House in D.C., right off of K Street.
Okay.
A block off of K Street. Like, we are... You know, we have signed on one of the largest and oldest law firms in the United States, and you know, they have 750 lawyers, so that we can provide protection and a voice for consumers at a very high level. And you know, so I work on sending letters on local levels, and consumers can do that as well. You know, we have to be engaged. You know, a lot of the social ills that we're dealing with on a variety of issues are because of apathy. Right. And so, you know, but consumers can really be engaged and they just need to be taught how, and that's why we are a watchdog. Yes, 16 years in this arena, I do feel responsible, just like a whole bunch of other people, for creating an industry that's a model industry that existing and new industries can follow. And part of that is having a consumer base that holds that accountability.
Right. And so if people want to get involved, then you can kind of be their, megaphone.
Yes. Absolutely.
All right, very cool. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much. We're going to have more with you in just a moment,
okay.
But we're going to go right now to the man who loves expressions and eighths, our own Professor Pat, with this week's entry into the new Cannabist lexicon.
Bongwater. The foul-smelling, sewer-like liquid sloshing around at the bottom of a water pipe or bong, which you really need to change, by the way. Bored stoners in the past have tried drinking it to get even higher, which is not recommended. Quote, "My roommate kicked over the bong, and now the whole dorm reeks like bong water."
Thanks, Professor. Our second guest is the program director for the biggest hemp expo in the country. Give a big cannabis show welcome to Preston Whitfield. Hey!
Thanks, Jason. Thanks so much for coming on. Good to see you guys.
Pleasure is mine. Is that fair to say? Are you the biggest in the country or biggest in the world now, NoCo?
In the country would be relevant, hemp-centric.
Okay, hemp-centric. What is hemp? Because it sounds like eccentric meets hemp.
No, meaning just hemp-focused.
Okay,
Yeah.
hemp-focused. How many exhibitors? Because every year, I went to year one. It was amazing. I was out of town for year two, but it looked like it grew like threefold.
Yeah, we're 140 exhibitors, over about 80 speakers from around the world.
Okay, and when people are thinking about a hemp expo, what are they picturing? Because I think that one of the problems is that people tend to get stuck at like hemp necklaces and then that's it.
So, I mean, with over 140 vendors that we're going to have there, you're going to get a lot of the vendors that are going to have hemp goods, CBD, and everything related. Anything that you can imagine being made from hemp is going to be exhibited there. But also, in addition to that, one of the things that we have is do different panels and speakers. We have the Hemp Summit Room, which is going to be for investors to come in and be able to take a look at some of the business potential that's out there and couple them with some cash.
See, I think that's really interesting because when I talk to investors out there, I just bit my own tongue. That's fun. So when I talk to investors, they seem like they're really interested in hemp because it's not, the THC laden cannabis. They feel like it could be an emerging industry. Is that bearing out what you're seeing in the market?
Definitely seeing an increase in that. One of the things that I think the investors are really looking at is how hemp is going to touch everybody's life, whereas your medical recreational scene is only the select few. I mean, the couch that we're sitting on, the carpet that we're standing on, all can be made from hemp. The clothes I'm wearing are made from hemp. So just in understanding that.
That's a nice shirt.
That is nice.
And that's the first time I've touched any of our guests' clothing. So that's fun.
Things are changing.
We're making cars out of hemp. We're building houses out of hemp. Batteries out of hemp. So the technology's really increasing.
What's a hemp battery look like? Because I don't know anything about batteries. I don't even know what to do with them when they're done now. I have a drawer full of them, and someday I'll figure it out. Like, are they more? I don't know what to do with a battery.
And ink.
Yeah,
I always forget to bring them. But you can exchange the toners and actually get credit.
We're gonna have hemp toner soon enough. Hemp ink.
It's on the way.
It is.
No, I'm just saying. It is next month. It will be here. I mean, the innovation behind this industry is absolutely amazing. But to get back to the hemp battery concept, going from lithium to graphene-based technology in batteries, they found that graphene holds a lot better of a power charge than that. And understanding that graphite is where it came from, the graphene, they then started trying plant cells to see what would happen.
Okay.
Starting with flax, it worked okay. Then we're in Colorado, let's try hemp. This started in Broomfield, Colorado. And it actually worked about 10 times better. So right now we're in the process of understanding and kind of putting it together for commercial level use. Last year at NoCo Hemp Expo, we did have a hemp graphene bike made out of hemp, powered with a hemp battery.
And were people riding it around?
I rode it around. That's the fastest.
You better believe I rode it around.
They were like, "Where did the bike go?"
That's so cool.
Yeah, the one thing I love too about NoCo is that it's very much like a family event. It is all ages.
No, it absolutely is. I mean, from that educational, it's an edutainment we have entertainment there. Music.
Oh, that's like one of my least favorite. Whenever anyone says edutainment, I'm real concerned. But I feel like you guys do a good job of really trying to engage with younger audiences and try and bring that next generation of hempsters up.
Well, you're right on point, because the average age of our farmer right now is about 65 years old. And one of the things that we're noticing in the hemp industry is that it is really inspiring the younger crowd to get out and take charge and actually move forward. They're becoming leaders. So you're going to drastically see from the cannabis plant, our average age of the farmer is going to drop dramatically and get us back into the game.
Yay!
Yeah,
that sounds like fun.
It's amazing. I think that so many people are trying to figure out how to save the family farm, right?
Yeah,
it's a narrative that we keep hearing about. How do we re-engage farmers? But it feels like it kind of there's a lot that's happening in hemp in terms of consumer goods, not as much. But it seems like a lot of it's CBD driven. Like, can you explain, if somebody's not familiar with industrial hemp, and where CBD came from and how it's kind of lighting the world of hemp on fire? Not literally.
So the division of hemp and marijuana was the definition of the amount of THC in the plant, below 0.3. So as long as we were able to keep the THC below 0.3, then we considered it hemp. So in doing so, we realized we could keep the THC below 0.3, but really push up the CBD, the CBG, all the other cannabinoids that actually have beneficial use. So in doing that, the company that I work with too, CBDRX, that is what we're doing, is to really push as many of those cannabinoids up for the beneficials of humans and animals.
I have a question.
Yeah, shoot.
What is the federal, with the whole
with the DEA, the DEA shake up at the end there.
CBD.
So that is, you're seeing a big issue with that right now. I was just out in D.C. 2 weeks ago, and we were really moving for the new federal farm bill, which is the Colmer bill, that he's pushing out there. And I think we have a majority of Senate and Congress behind us on this. So as soon as it goes, that would actually make it a legal agricultural crop, as is corn, tobacco, and all the other agricultural crops. So,
and isn't the main objection right now just a sheer perception issue, that people drive past a field of hemp and they go, it kind of looks like its cousin?
It does, yeah. It is. That's the bigger issue that we're dealing with. It's just removing those boundaries of perception.
Now, one of the other things that I've noticed is that while a lot of states may be slow on uptake of medical marijuana laws, a lot of states have also passed exceptions for CBD-based medicines. What do you think the future is going to look like, especially 2017, in terms of more people or more states passing legislation that says, yeah, we don't know if we want to dip our toes into kind of full, broad medical marijuana, but we'd like to start with CBD?
That is, we're seeing it now, obviously trending faster and faster. With the hemp bill, you're going to see that kind of catapult the entire United States to just opening in recognition, because it'll be like growing corn, right?
Right. Novel concept.
Right, novel concept. And so that is what, I mean, you're going to see that increase. And I see with the whole market, you're going to get an increased amount of growers and an increased amount of cannabinoids on the market. But at the same time, what we're seeing is an increased education, an increased awareness from everyday use. We're now getting into the point where, I mean, just like you have a Sensodyne toothpaste, you're going to have a cannabinoid-rich toothpaste that's going to act the exact same way. So the amount of
For some reason, that doesn't sound like so appealing to me, just because I've tasted cannabis.
Well, the effectiveness level of that is actually tremendous. From a general tooth pain situation, because it reduces inflammation and the cannabinoids in your mouth, you'll get relief.
Yeah, aren't some cannabinoids antibiotic? Don't they have antibacterial properties?
Cannabis as a plant is antimicrobial. So.
Microbial itself, I'm telling you, this plant's a miracle.
I've got too many things wrong with my mouth. All right, now I'm willing to try it. Let's talk. I want to talk because it's weird for me that I went into Walgreens. That's like the Colorado version of CVS for anybody that doesn't know, and they had like a couple different bars that had hemp seed in them. What is driving the normalization of hemp right now?
Well, I think you're getting anybody who'd been cannabis curious.
Yeah.
This is the introductory level to that. Is people seeing the hemp leaf or knowing that there's a hemp seed, and that's the toe in the water, right? And I think that's a toe in the water to normalization, to complete legalization across the board. And that is that's the very platform of what we've been working from. Let them see the value.
I love that you guys are both on board. Like, full legalization. Let's start making it happen. I want to bring.
We have all these different angles at it. We have hemp, we have medical, we have recreational, and we're coming at it. And there is going to be a point.
And we're going to come at it in our hemp cars.
In our hemp cars. And hopefully they'll give us banking to put all this. Well, I don't know, the government.
Is banking an issue for hemp?
No, the government actually takes money from tax dollars from marijuana sales and banks it.
280Es.
Yeah,
I mean, there's not deductions, but they're happy to take the money. And are hemp farmers having issues with banks yet?
Yes, we are.
Yes, they are.
And with the new federal farm bill, the Colmer bill coming up, that will negate all of that and open up banking for hemp farmers. You are having local banks that are working with us. But there's more times than not, especially in credit card processing, that you're getting a new credit card processor every other week.
Oh, what's the kind of timeline look like on this Comer bill?
We are expected to go. It's supposed to be submitted by next week. So in the next coming months here, you're going to see a lot of attention, and we think it's going to pass and go fluidly through pretty quick.
Well, if you're listening or watching at home, stay tuned to the Cannabist.co for all the updates on that bill. I want to bring Larisa back in really quick because I always want to know, what's your preferred way to consume cannabis? Do you like flower, concentrates, or edibles?
I like flower. And I like to dab. I'm a dabber. But I like flower. I used to smoke cigarettes.
If it was like a desert island.
Flower.
Flower all day?
All day.
All day for me, too.
What? Yeah. We've never had two people answer flower before. This is a very special moment for me. As a flower critic, it's for me, there's such a connection to it. What is it about flower that you guys like?
I love her.
Yeah.
I'm weird. Well, I know. I have a weird obsession with this plant.
The socialization, the breaking it up, the connection with the plant and the earth, I think it's in those moments there
powerful.
Where you become into the moment. Mm-hmm. Right. You relax. And
especially when you grow.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes from your garden. It means
and when you grow and you smoke flower in your room, it's a religious experience.
When you smoke your own flower?
In your own room.
In the
room that you're growing in, yes, it's a religious experience.
She mentioned some strains that she likes in California.
Oh yeah,
California. My favorite strains in general, I stick to lemon. I'm a lemon, like anything that has limonene and pinene. I'm a sativa person in general. So whatever strain that comes out.
Why do you like
normal
sativa
super
so much?
Lemon haze is actually I like all the hazes too. Okay. For me, because it's good for all the things I need: energy, anxiety. Focus, creativity.
Do you find it helps with anxiety? Because people that I know, they're like, for you.
Well, for me. So you have to understand cannabis as a plant there's a spiritual quality to it. And she is a teacher plant. And she will bring to light fear that you have and anxieties that you have. So some people might get paranoid, some people might have an existential crisis. The thing is just like Jim Morrison said, not to get too woo-woo, but, to break on through, to get past those fears. And, you essentially become fearless, which is probably not something, I'm not fearless. Well, yeah, I'm pretty fearless, actually.
Yeah, I would say so.
Overall, like
a 90s t-shirt, no fear over here.
Yeah, over here. Yeah, and, but cannabis is used, that's why it's great for things like PTSD, for example. PTSD, I have that, but I don't like to say I have it anymore because I really feel like it's cured. I have a degree in psychology. I found the right therapist. It's a thing that you have to handle with therapy and experience and exposure versus pills.
Well, and I think somebody was talking about
it helps bring up those emotions and it helps you recreate a relationship and a thought pattern around that's healthy when you're in the right environment and you're using it medicinally for that.
Yeah, I think it was a Bob Marley quote that cannabis helps you reveal yourself.
Yes.
It doesn't
good,
change
bad,
anything.
ugly, yes. She's a trickster. She will teach you things. Oh, yeah. She will. But and that's why some people stay far away. They don't want to see the things that just like what Bob Marley said. Some people don't like to reflect on themselves and their behavior. Cannabis is a reflection plant.
But see, I think that what was really interesting, Preston, is when you said cannabis is a social, drug. But for me, I think that when I smoke, especially stuff that's like 25, 30% THC, I find it tends to make me antisocial. Yep. Or I'll be with
paranoid?
A group of people, not even paranoid. They'll be like, okay, we'll take like 1 or 2 hits. Everybody's like so worried. We don't this stuff's strong. Only take a couple hits, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that's the end. Then we've got like 1 rotation in a circle. It's not very communal. Whereas like when I was a kid, we'd smoke blunts of swag, and we'd just be like, it'd be like a 20-minute experience, and then. You know,
have you noticed the evolution of the rate? So in the beginning, we were really pushing the THC levels. How high can we get it? And again, creating somewhat of paranoia in some people. Now that we're seeing the rise of CBD coming back into it, you're starting to see a general relaxing, but still enjoying the enhancement of the high THC. But also seeing almost a wellness, a smile coming back on the face. And that's why I'm really looking at those higher balanced CBD strains and what I'm looking for.
That's I'm with you on that. Janae, you know Sam Talent. He, you know, he's been on the show before. This guy would eat like 500, 1,000 milligrams of edibles. Now he's like, give me CBD weed. That's what I want to smoke. Do you do any CBD weed?
I did a dab of Harlequin, actually, earlier today.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I love CBD strains. Again, you know, I find it's good for anxiety. It's good for, it's good for like PTSD. But I find it's good for inflammation.
Really?
Yeah. Like you know, I have to have higher milligrams of it, but it's been really helpful. I have spinal stenosis, so I have considerable back pain that can lead to migraines. And after writing, these Pennsylvania applications where I was for weeks on end sitting and writing, I was getting cramped and my back was hurting. And I also have a bulging disc in my thoracic spine. And so I was eating CBD gummies.
Right, and it's the one, and so the inflammation goes down for you.
Yeah, and I can move my, I can start stretching and things start popping and cracking into place. And yeah, I use that along with turmeric, and I've been able to, I don't use pharmaceutical, and my doctors are like, what? Because they try to push that stuff for my medical condition, a bulging disc and spinal stenosis.
They want to pump you full of drugs.
Yeah, every time I go in, now they don't, not as much, but yeah, they do. Right. It's like, they're like, here, take this, and I'm like, no. I consume cannabis. I may take an Excedrin, like one in the morning sometimes if it's so bad that I have to get from point A to point B.
Sure.
But I will smoke a joint in the morning, and I don't mind admitting that because it's medicinal. Sure. And instead of a cigarette, I do what people call a hippie speedball. I'll smoke a joint with tea instead of coffee, though. I'm a tea drinker, but your caffeine.
Yeah.
And a sativa. And then I'm focused. I take a shower. I'm thinking about my day, running through my plans, and boom, it's just. Yeah.
Well, Preston, one of the big
things. And I found that CBD really helps with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I try and incorporate hemp as much as possible, like hemp seed, hemp oil. Do you have ways that you incorporate hemp outside of the CBD into kind of your daily routine?
Oh, every day.
Yeah.
In my smoothie every morning, I definitely do hemp seed. So.
Do you do the protein? Do you do the seed or
the actual seed? Yeah.
Okay.
I do the hemp nut. Mm-hmm.
The hemp nut.
Yeah.
Very
Where
cool.
can you buy that?
You can buy it almost Whole Foods, Costco.
Okay. Oh, that's the same thing?
Yeah.
It's got the omega-3s and 6s. Everything's well balanced. Janae, I'm going to bring you a bag because right now we got to go to the pot quiz. I've never heard anyone say yay before. I'm excited. People are like, the pot quiz. Dun, dun, dun. Who wants to start? Okay.
Yeah, we're all on board. Let's do this.
All right, Preston, it's you. Question number 1, are you ready? Yep. Okay.
As ready as it's going to be.
According to an interview with Vulture, Woody Harrelson said it's been 1 year since he last smoked pot. Why did he give it up? A, he found that it decreased his sex drive. B, he was spending too much money on it. C, he became emotionally unavailable. Or D, he can't find any.
You know this one, dude.
You got it.
You know it.
This just broke as you guys were coming.
I know we were. Yeah.
As you were walking in, I'm like, oh, good Woody Harrelson question. Let's fire it up.
I am going to go with C.
That is correct.
Yay!
Nice. Yeah, emotionally unavailable. He's like, I still drink socially, but. And he's been a huge proponent. Hemp was arrested, 96 for planting hemp seeds?
Yeah, in Kentucky.
I don't know. Do you think he'll ever come back?
Well, I just find it weird that he says emotionally unavailable because I find that in relationships, if both people consume cannabis, and they consume cannabis before, like during an argument, either you're going to forget what you're arguing about and go eat, or you have a better conversation.
It breaks down some of those walls.
So I find that a weird statement.
Probably a little bit of A as well.
Right.
He's getting older.
Yeah, maybe.
See, I talk to guys on the East Coast that are like, my wife and I eat an edible, and all of a sudden it's on.
It's on.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't know his emotions. He's confusing his emotions, maybe. maybe with his.
Okay, I think that's fair.
We're going to psychoanalyze Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, Woody, just come on the show. We'll let you tell your side of the story. All right, so that's 1 point for Preston. Larisa, it's your question. Question number 2. The Arkansas House voted down a bill that would ban what in their state? Is it A, marijuana concentrates, B, marijuana edibles, C, CBD products with more than 3% THC, or D, having all your teeth? I'm so sorry, Arkansas. That was just unduly mean.
I can't even believe you had that on there. Edibles.
That is correct. What a weird bill. They wanted to preemptively ban edibles in the state.
Arkansas leading the way. This is what we were talking about earlier, about other states are looking to see what we've done wrong. The thing is there's a huge consumer demand for edibles. I'm getting ready to come out with a report, and you'd be surprised at how many people make their own and buy and what they like.
See, but
and people
I always
microdose on edibles too.
Microdosing, definitely, but I always wonder how much of the edible sales in Colorado are a reflection of the fact that there's nowhere for tourists to go and smoke. That when you come here, it's the most discreet thing you can do. You pop a little. Some people might try and take them out to the airport, which I definitely don't recommend. But yeah, it feels like they're the very discreet way. So I want to see if pot clubs pass here. What do those numbers look like?
Yes.
All right, so we got a tie right now. We're going to go back to Preston with question number 3. Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper has vowed to veto a bill to allow pot clubs in Colorado unless the bill bans what? Is it A, indoor smoking, B, cabaret performances, C, pets, or D, the sharing of Netflix passwords?
I would say A, Jake.
That is correct. I like the aggressive use of the bell. Let him know. Let him hear it.
Yeah, thank you for that.
No, that's banning a cabaret. You know, it's interesting that you say that, though, because there is an interesting counterculture in Colorado with cannabis consumers. And we do have cabaret type shows. There's a couple people that do those things.
With pot involved? Mm-hmm. Where's that at? Wait, tell me after the show.
Catch me after the show.
They don't get plugged on here. All right, Larisa, we're going back to you for your chance to tie it up. Question number 4. Which of the following is not the name of a cannabis-related app? A, Hi There, B, Who is Happy, C, Bud Hubs, or D, Burner?
Oh, B.
Which one is not?
B?
Who is Happy is actually a cannabis app. All right, so Preston with a chance to steal. Is it A, Hi There, C, Bud Hubs, or D, Burner?
D, Burner.
That is correct. I thought that sounded the most plausible.
Well, there's the burners, though. They're their own thing. I should have been able to guess that.
I thought it was like Tinder, but for people that like to smoke, was what I would have called it.
Next.
Congratulations, Preston. You're a winner. Do you want a bonus question, guys? Because I had a tiebreaker ready.
Okay.
All right, for a chance to just tie. What was the street value, according to the Monroe Police Department, of the nearly 4 pounds of weed they found at that Goodwill? Well, do Price is Right rules apply? What did they put the street value of almost 4 pounds of weed?
15,000.
Well, you're right in line with where I was getting ready to go. I was going to say 16,000.
Price is Right rules apply. 16,000 would be our closest. $24,000.
What?
Oh, that was in their state.
That's in their statement.
In Washington.
In Washington State?
In Washington State, I'm like, are you selling it by the gram? What's going on, police department?
Insane.
They're not getting full money, full dollar value for their pot. All right. Hey, thank you so much to Larisa. Thank you so much, Preston, for joining me on the Cannabis Show. Check us out on iTunes. Leave a review. I'm waiting for your reviews, people.
Say something nice.
Yeah, say something nice. Say something mean. Just be honest. Say what's in your heart. You can also find us on any of your favorite podcasting apps. I don't know how many of them there are, but trust us, we're there. My name is Jake Brown for Janae Burris and all of the Cannabis Show crew. We'll see you next week.
I'm allowed to lose, the truth to win. I'm all in, I'm calling any posse you'll be raising at the end. I say it again, ain't afraid to get in. I be going for the jackpot with aces in my hand, I'm raw.